Hello again YouTube, and welcome back to the second part of my Total War Warhammer 3 Beginner to Master series. In this fairly quick video we will cover how to fight and win your very first battle in the tactical layer of the game. You'll notice that we have moved away from the overhead army management layer, which is commonly known as a strategy map. We won't be interacting with it again until the battle ends. Now we're going to be interacting exclusively with a tactical layer. As always, the goal here is to try to win, because the victories here will contribute to our ultimate aim of achieving victory in the campaign, which is our ultimate sort of aim. In this case, we're playing the prologue campaign. So let's get started. So I'm just in the pause menu at the moment, and you can exit that just by, or enter it just by pressing escape. So I'll do that now. And as you can see, we're on the tactical layer at the moment, and we'll just follow the in-game instruction. So if you look towards the top left there, we're going from exactly from where we left off before when we started the battle. So if you didn't see the first video, you can go back to that in my YouTube videos and then continue from there until you get up to this point, because my prologue videos are all going to be chronological, and then after that we'll sort of split them up into different parts, and you can choose whichever ones you want to do. But for the moment, we'll follow the prologue campaign. So Garrick says the beacon is under attack. See for yourself. And the UI indicator is pointing to that army over there to us, who are enemies. So we've got, just to tell you, the red on the left over here, these are our enemies. The blue on the right are our allies. So we've got a lot of friends over here, but I'll show you them in a minute. And the UI tooltip here is telling us camera controls, move with the WASD keys. So if you just try that for yourself now, you can move around the battle left to right, but you won't be able to move the camera like this. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. Drag the middle, so it's saying that there, drag the middle mouse button to change facing. So if you've got a mouse button on your mouse, you'll be able to do that. And you hold it down, keep the button pressed, and then you change the direction of the mouse by moving it around to whichever way you want to look, and it will do this for you. And so that's holding the button down. And it says change height by scrolling the middle mouse button. So to do that, you just move it up and down with your middle finger, and that will bring you sort of up in the sky and then down straight to the ground to whatever level you're comfortable with. So using these two, WASD and that, you can move the camera around as you want and get whatever view that you want. If you want an even clearer view at times, you can completely get rid of UI using the K button, but we can't do that now because we're in the tutorial, in the prologue tutorial. So it says survey the battlefield, move the camera close to the marked point of interest to inspect it. So using WSD, we'll press your W key and go left and right with A and D, and we'll move all the way over to this point. And it's giving us a cutscene now. So we'll just watch that.
So, the wolf reveals himself.
Cannons fire upon the defenders. When the round is over, the warriors will attack. Act swiftly.
Excuse me.
Yuri, the defenders need our help. We must reach them. What's that? There, in the trees. An army. Those are Kislev colors. They're allies. We must advance and combine our strength. Select your own unit in order to rejoin your forces.
So as I said before, in the color coding of the game, red are enemies on the left there, as you can see, and blue are friendlies. So unit selection, select units. It says select units by left clicking. So I'll just pause the game briefly to explain. So this layer that we're in now is the tactical layer, different to the strategic, as I said. And so in this layer we'll be selecting individual units on the battlefield. On the strategic layer, which is what we were in the previous video, we're moving around armies and generals who are leading those armies, and also sometimes agents, but again we'll explore that all later. On this layer we're trying to win the battle with individual units, so that's what we're going to be doing now, commanding individual units. So select units by left clicking.
Now issue a move order towards your troops. The soldiers are assembled and await your arrival.
So we'll right click, move your mouse over to this point, and we'll right click here
Over there.
as it indicates. So that's your
place
first
is amongst
movement
the
order.
warriors. Your presence grants them courage before the enemy.
So what it's saying in the tooltip there, if you have a look at it, it's saying that it's granting us a leadership aura bonus. So I'll just turn that on for you. Oh, okay, it's not letting me do that, never mind. Anyway, what he will do is he will buff all of the nearby units with improved leadership. So it's quite often important to keep your troops next to the general, because they'll fight harder and longer for you.
Proceed into the valley. Select your entire army so any order is given to all.
Okay, so what we'll do now, so I showed you a minute ago how to select individual units and move them, but now we need to know how to select all units or a box. So you can do this.
Order your units forward.
You can do. I'll shut him up in a minute. So you can do this one of two ways. You can either select them with a box, holding down the left button, or you can press Control A, which will select all of the units in the entire army. So you can do either approach here. At the moment it's just telling us to select them with a box, so we'll do that, but Control A is also really useful. I'll show you that later. So again, I'll show you that again. We just select them all, and it should, in your UI, it should light up when you do that slightly. You see the colours changing a bit. That means they're selected. So we'll move them there with the right mouse button.
The soldiers advance. Take this time to practice maneuvering. Remember, orders are issued only to selected units.
And if you look very closely here, it will tell you in your UI, if you bring your mouse down to the bottom, you've got 3 units here: Sargard, and your general. You'll see that they're running, and you can see that on the map. You can see that in the battle as well. But if you just go above the unit cards here, you can see it says moving fast, so they're currently set to running. You can change that with this button here, and now you can see that they're walking, or you can go straight over to running. So at the moment we're going to want to run because we want to support this army.
Our allies fire down upon Skolden's army. His forces scatter. The allies are threatened from the rear. Up close, their bows are no match for swords and spears. They're under attack. We must hurry to their aid.
So again, select your army with the box like this using the left button, select them all, and then move with the right button to where you want to go, and it's indicating to go here, so I've just done that. I'll do that again for you, just clicking the button once, right button. I'll just pause the game for a moment. So just to say, if you're ever, confused by anything I've said, just leave it. You can leave a comment below, or just, if you're in the game yourself, you can pause my video and bring it back and just re-watch it until, to match it to the point that you're at, and just keep re-watching until it becomes clearer. And I find that useful with tutorials if you just keep sort of going over the same things until you get to something that you might have missed earlier. So we're going to be doing our first flanking maneuver, and again I'm moving around the camera with WSD, and I'm moving my perspective with holding down the mouse wheel button as explained earlier. So by doing that, you'll get a lot of mobility. So that's what I'm doing now, just looking around the field, because it's always good to get some perspective on your positioning. Because what you don't want to happen is to get flanked. Getting flanked is bad.
They have their backs to us.
And as he's saying, what we need to do now, we're in an ideal position to flank them. So what you do now is, okay, it doesn't let me pause it in tutorial. Never mind. Anyway, I'm just pressing escape to pause it. If you're ever sort of unsure what to do, just press escape here and take a moment to think. It can be really useful. And it's, you know, nothing to be ashamed of when you do a tutorial. Just take a moment to think about what you're doing next. So now what I've done here is I've selected these two units, and both of them are going to be charging. You can see faintly the outline. They're going to be charging both units. So one unit will attack one, and the other will attack the other. The idea here is that we're enveloping both, and we're surrounding them, and that will put them at a combat disadvantage. So that's what we're doing. Select this one with left mouse button and then charge with the right mouse button. And again with this unit, you're doing the same thing. Select left button, charge with right mouse button. And your commander, you can select him as well and charge him in. And to wherever you think you need the most support, you can send in your commander. Or you may use him to duel the enemy commander, but you'll only do that if you're stronger, ideally. Okay, and we'll just zoom in now and watch the fighting until the battle progresses.
The enemy raised the white flag. Their troops flee.
So we're routing them now, because they're in any normal battle their leadership would drop and they would flee. So the tutorial is really just demonstrating what would eventually happen anyway, probably, because they're surrounded there and it puts them at a leadership disadvantage. So flanking your enemy is ideal, and you should always try to flank the other player.
The allies join our forces. We'll need the reach of their bows.
The same, press escape to continue, so just do as the UI directs you to do. And we've got some extra units now.
They must fall silent if we are to save the beacon.
So again, you can select them all with the left mouse button box as so, or you can simply just press Ctrl A, which could be easier, and I quite often do that. I'll also show you later on how to group them, but for now we can just focus on moving the army together. But you can also move them in formation, which can be very useful, particularly for more complex arrangements like this, where we have a mixture of, well, we have archers here on the far right of the unit UI, and we have melee units, and we need to keep them separate ideally. So your melee units are going to be in the front line, and your archers ideally are going to be supporting from behind. That's never going to change. Yeah, so he's saying the same thing as me, basically. So select your first three units: the armoured Cossars, the Tsar Guard, and the Tsar Guard, and also if you want the general. And you're going to select them and put them in front. Now select your archers and put them behind like this. They'll start firing, and you can see, if you hover over your archers, you can see a kind of arc coming out of them, and that will show the area that they can fire. You can also direct them to shoot a specific unit. So try doing this now. Highlight them with the box, the two archers, and select a specific unit. They're automatically firing as they are, but you can also order them to aim at a very specific unit, and that way you can focus fire and do more damage. You don't particularly want to be splitting your damage. A lot of the time you're going to be focusing fire on enemy. Quite often you'll be targeting an enemy missile unit, and we've got a missile unit here, but
press your advantage. Destroy their weapons of war.
This was not meant to be. Make war.
okay, so it's just telling us to destroy the weapons of war, but we've got to get through these troops first because they're in the way, so we can use our archers to do that for us, and we'll target the hunters first. It might be more of a threat. But to be honest with you, in this battle it's going to be hard to lose because it is a tutorial, and I'll give you a more in-depth analysis of how to win battles at a later date, but this is really just showing you the basics of how to win a simple battle, and you know, kind of directing you on all the main things you need to be doing in a battle. Anyway, the skull cannon has turned around to fire on us now, so when it starts doing this you need to react. So bring your Sargard and armoured Kossars forward, because if you don't bring your troops forward they're going to suffer some heavy losses. We've already lost like nearly half of our Sargard there, so it's important to get your troops moving at this point. But keep your archers, keep them just firing behind your line. Don't engage them in combat. Then it's not what their purpose is as a unit. Their purpose is to sit back and give you supporting fire. And yeah, so we've engaged the enemy by left clicking and then right clicking on them with when you highlight them with the sword icon. And we've engaged them with our melee troops, and that will be an easy fight because those skull cannons, like our archers, they're not melee units. They'll be defeated easily. So when you hover over enemy troops, it's important to try to figure out what kind of troops they are and how to counter them. It's sort of a key part of Total War is analysing your troops, analysing the enemy troops, and trying to figure out the best way to counter what they have. But I'll continue to explain that as we go.
Still attacks the beacon. They're vulnerable from behind. Strike now while they're engaged.
Okay, so I'm going to select all of our troops now with Control A. We need to get moving quickly so that we can support, you know, everyone that's engaged here, because there's quite a lot of troops here that we want to look to beat, and we want to seize the advantage and actually support the troops here rather than just leave them to fight alone, where, you know, in a normal battle you might lose. You want to seize the advantage a lot of the time. If you have the advantage, you've got to try to seize it. So we'll target them with the archers, and with what we've done, we're selecting our melee units here on the left to charge in. And the reason that I've done that is because I don't want our missile units to target our own troops. It is possible to hit your own men in this game, and when it happens it's not always pretty. You want to avoid that when you possibly can. So, and also your archers here, they have a clear firing advantage. Their fire is not obstructed here. They have a clear line of sight, and so they'll do maximum damage. So you're always thinking of that as well. And if you look down here at their unit cards, it will say firing, which means that they're firing without any problems, without obstruction. And so that's good. So if you want to know if they're firing effectively, the UI will tell you that if you just highlight the unit cards.
Yuri, you are Prince of Kislev. Let your kinsmen hear you roar. Fill them with Ursun's courage.
So now select you, so you can see his icon here, and the UI is directing us to select him. So just select him with the left button. And this is the first ability that we're going to use in the game, and the ability here is flashing down on the bottom left next to his character profile. You're just going to click that with the left button, Ursun's Roar, and what that does is it will give you a melee attack plus 20 and leadership plus 16, so it'll make him better at fighting and braver, and it will affect him and make him a better fighter.
Your war cry inspires your soldiers.
And it's also affected everyone around him. So you can have abilities like that that will, command abilities they're known as, that basically improve everyone that's around the general. That can be very useful, and they can turn battles around for you. So another thing to keep in mind.
We fight for Ursun! Full tough Gislovites! Go with honor! Starguide!
So we're just consolidating our position now, because we've beaten the first wave of them. Now we're just moving in our melee troops, and with our missiles we'll finish off this units that's routing here. They're no threat to us, but we don't want them to rally and engage our missile troops, so we'll shoot those. If your missile units are in trouble, you can put them in skirmish mode with this button down here when you've selected them, and this button will make them run away whenever the enemy is near, which can be very useful.
The beacon is safe. Many lives have been spared. The survivors look to me for leadership. I will need them, for the wolf still lurks in the shadow.
Now, and sort of watch what happens after this. Another video later today, directly in relation to this. Actually, okay, we'll just press continue here, and we'll end the video there, I think. We've got the after battle screen, and it'll give you a summary of everything that's happening.
Their fate is mine
after
to
the battle.
decide. I pray for Ursun's guidance.
We'll just let him talk. Okay, so we've finished this battle here, and we have some options now. And in this case, so you're just going to bring your mouse down to the bottom of the screen again, and you're going to pick one of these options. Pick whichever one you think is best. Personally, I think this option, indenture, is going to be better, because what that does, if you highlight it, if you look closely, you can see your units on the left there. Their health is being replenished. What you can see is there's a yellow bar that's increasing when you highlight this ability. That reflects what health they will have if you take this option, and it's significantly more. And you'll have taken some losses probably at this point. If you haven't, you don't have to do this, but if you have, it's a good idea to select that to replenish your losses, because you'll get most of your troops back, and we're going to be fighting more battles again here. So yeah, I think that's a good idea, so we'll do that. So it says those that fight and survive should not be allowed freedom in the aftermath. There is much to do in the lands we carve out here in the waste. Set them to work. So they're going to be joining. So what's happening is you've captured enemy troops, and they're going to be joining your ranks. And you can see on the right side here, pretty much all of their troops have been wiped out, and we've won the battle decisively. So well done for getting to this point, because you've now effectively won your first battle.
The innocent are spared from the wolf's vicious pack. The beacon is under our control.
And you've also completed your first major
Wastes.
objective, and we've
This is
secured
not
this area
over
now,
yet.
the beacon. So we'll end
Kislev's northern stronghold awaits.
the video there, and I'll make another video shortly continuing this from where we were. So thanks very much for watching, and if you liked it and enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, because it'll help my channel hugely. And if you do subscribe, you'll get instant notification of any more of these videos that I produce, these tutorial videos which are going to help you to go from being a completely new player to eventually mastering the game in a, I'd say, relatively short space of time, if you focus on watching these videos and focus on the details. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.